I'm Aiyer.
And I'm Rottinghaus. By now you've definitely seen some of the coverage of the tragedy that took place in Florida that has multiple people killed in a high school. This is the 18th time that something like this has happened at a school since the beginning of the year. And we're going to talk a little bit about what that means for us in 59 seconds.
Well, there's two big issues here. When anytime you've had mass shootings, particularly as a result in schools, in this case, 17 people dead, 14 injured, it leaves us with lots of questions. And the two big questions we get right now are, what are we going to do as far as the spread of guns, sort of the larger gun control question, and then the other issue is, how do you deal with access to weapons for folks who are deemed mentally ill?
This is a difficult question for the people to be able to tackle because it is such a hot button issue. People believe that the right to bear arms is something that can't be infringed upon, and yet there are people who believe that there have to be some limits to that. Congress in particular has to follow up with these problems because they also have political constituencies that feel firmly that they cannot budge from one position or the other. This makes it a very intractable problem.
Now, it's important to remember that in the wake of the Sandy Hook tragedy that took place, President Obama had issued some executive orders that limited the ability of people with mental illness to purchase weapons. That law has actually been overturned. Congress just this past year passed a bill that allowed or loosened those restrictions, and it was signed by President Trump.
The difficulty in Congress doing something about this is that it's hard to get consensus on what to do. So even after the mass shooting that took place in Las Vegas, it was unclear what should be done because people were concerned about different issues, and trying to get the Republicans unified on a particular course of action when they controlled Congress was even more difficult.
The other issue as it relates to gun control is a question of whether assault weapons should be purchasable by average citizens. The AR-15, which is a known assault weapon, has been used in this tragedy. It's been used in previous tragedies. And so there's going to be another move to try and restrict the sale of those weapons.
One big question is what it will take to move the needle on gun control issues. The Democrats, after the tragedy that took place at Sandy Hook, had a major sit-in and tried to convince people this was an important issue. The news was obviously aflame when these kinds of things happen. So there's a lot of attention to the issue, but politically it's hard to move things.
Our hope is that this tragedy would spur even more discussion, and there potentially could finally be a solution so we don't have to come back and keep dealing with tragedies like this.